Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Estonia once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a couple of times before. Now, these guys are a very well respected and very well established brewery, and if people were to ask me about these guys, I would say that they're best known for their big malty beers and also for their barrel program. So, the big Imperial stouts, the barley wines, the Scotch ales, the quadruples and things like this. If those are the styles that you're into, this is one of the Estonian breweries that you want to check out, and they're also one of the best in Europe at what they do, in my personal opinion. So yeah, check this brewery out, you really need to. Their beers weren't all that accessible to me in Sweden or even when I crossed the water to Denmark. The first one I tried was when I actually went to Estonia, but it seems that they make their way out here to Asia quite regularly actually. So you'll see a few beers reviewed from this brewery over the next little while. Take advantage while you can is the name of the game. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is a release that I've heard very good things about from these guys. This one does have a couple of years of age on it, which should make it quite interesting. And it's also a style that we haven't covered on the channel all that much actually, because you just don't find too many of them in Europe. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, like I say, we are going to return to the wonderful country of Estonia in the Baltics. We're going to go to the northwest of the country, to the capital city Tallinn, which is a great beer city these days, and we're going to go to the airport area, which means we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Sori Brewing. So this particular beer is called Laudatur. It is the 2019 edition. It comes in at 10.4% ABV, and this one is an American strong ale, and we call it that because it's actually a blend of a few things, and we'll get into the technical aspects of this beer a little bit later on. But this was another random find at Gur Beer in Chimshatchui here in Hong Kong, who always seem to throw up some really interesting things. But yeah, I think this could be quite interesting. The last beer we tried from Sori Brewing came a couple of weeks ago, and that was a Scotch ale aged in port barrels, which was really, really interesting. So like I said earlier, Sori Brewing are one of the European breweries you want to check out if you're into your barrel aged beers, because they just do some crazy stuff actually. But yeah, the Laudator is supposed to be very good. I don't think they actually do these beers anymore, if memory serves me correctly. I think the 2020 edition might have been the last one. But yeah, this beer is about 5 years old at the time that we're going to review it, so it should have a nice little bit of complex flavour to it. But yeah, let's crack on then and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. The Laudator 2019 edition, 10.4% American strong ale from Sori Brewing in Tallinn, Estonia. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Sori Brewing before, and we will see about adding more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I review beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Estonian playlist, along with a number of other things. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. I love my Estonian beers, so I always take the opportunity when it's there. But do check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very, very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go into my brewery notes then and tell you a wee bit about Sori Brewing once again then. So, like I said to you, Sori Brewing are based in Tallinn, the Estonian capital in the Baltics, and the company was founded back in 2013 by Pyri, Patrick Hurula, Heikki Uotila, Sami Heino, and all of these guys originally come from Finland. So the brewery are basically based in Estonia because of the bureaucracy that was involved in establishing a brewery in Finland at the time. That has of course changed quite a little bit. and you can see many good Finnish craft breweries these days. But Heikki comes from a background in online retail and marketing. Piri is an entrepreneur and worked in the finance and paper industry, and also has his own marketing business as well, while Sami studied microbiology and was basically the one who was doing a lot of the brewing. But the three apparently met at an academic beer society called Bosa, and they decided to start their own brewery because they felt that Finland was really lacking in craft beer at the time, which was certainly true. But early on in the process, Sami decided to move on and work in the lab for Pojala, and now it's Heikki and Piri who are the main men behind it, steering the company. But of course, Sori Brewing have a tap room in Finland these days, and there are many craft breweries in Finland. But the reason the Finnish industry struggled quite a little bit in the early days was because it was very costly for Finnish producers to produce beer, and they couldn't do it with the same consistency that you would expect these days, right enough. And so the imported American craft beers were actually cheaper than the Finnish ones that didn't have the same consistency. So, you know, it wasn't really a recipe for success. But these guys, as we say, went to Estonia and got things kicked off. But they managed to raise around 500,000 euros from crowdfunding, which was done without any platform apparently, and they set up the brewery in an old Soviet-era factory very close to Tallinn airport. And apparently this was once upon a time a restricted factory complex called Dvigatel at one stage. But later they received another 100,000 euro grant from Business Finland, which has helped them expand, and they've just gradually built up the company over the years. But the current head brewer is Timian McDowell, who's a graduate of the Heriot Watt Brewing Programme in Edinburgh, which has produced many good craft brewers, and today they're producing around 300,000 litres of beer per year, and they've got a barrel programme that consists of around 200 barrels. Like I say, these guys have one of the best barrel programmes in the whole of the European continent. But as of April 2024, when I'm filming, or May 2024, sorry, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 170 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And you do have to remember as well that there are various vintages of the same beer, so that number probably is not all that accurate. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Sori Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at this beer itself. So just to let you have a wee look at the artwork of this one. There you can see it looks like it's got a nice kind of forest in the background, because, you know, Finland is basically all lakes and forest, which is kind of the same. You can say that for Estonia as well. Incidentally, you should go and read about the Forest Brothers, which is a very interesting historical point of Estonia. These guys that hid from the Soviets in the trees for decades in some cases. But there you can see the Sori Brewing bottle cap on this one. You get this in different colours depending on what beer you're looking at. But yeah, like I said earlier, this one is a 10.4% American strong ale. This is the 2019 vintage of this one. I think they've stopped doing this. Maybe 2020 was the last one. I'm sure I read that somewhere, but correct me on that in the comments section below if I'm wrong. But it says on the side here, two Finnish craft beer rebels, Piri and Heikki, voted with their feet against ludicrous legislation and started a crowd-funded brewery in Tallinn, Estonia, on a mission to brew beer without compromises. But it tells you about the beer here as well. It says, special release, annually we select barrels for this intense, multi-layer and exquisite blended ale, a medley of Imperial Baltic Porter and barley wine aged in Heaven Hill Bourbon and Prestige Cognac barrels, aged to perfection and blended by our barrel master. Drink now or cellar for years to come. So yeah, it says on the side here that this one is best before the 27th of February 2024, or I don't know if that's the batch number of the lot, actually, I could be wrong, but yeah, this is the one that's obviously been put in the barrel in 2019, or it's been taken out of the barrel in 2019, I'm really not 100% sure, but yeah, 2019 edition anyway. I think this should be really nice. I love barley wine and I love Baltic Porter. We don't come across those all that much these days. But like I say, another wonderful find at Gur Beer in Chimshatchui here in Hong Kong. So go and check those guys out if you find yourself over here. But let's get the beer out into the glass and see if we've got on the Laudatur 2019 edition. And incidentally, the name Laudatur apparently is it's the Finnish academic grade for outstanding, basically, like first class, I guess we could say, is the way to describe it. So yeah, before the head disappears on this one, you can see that it poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of dark tan head there. Let me just bring that up to the camera so that you can see it, because it looks very nice. You can see nice, oh, camera doesn't want to focus on this, let's put it like that. There you can see the nice kind of medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, and it gets a little bit foamier the further up that you go, but you can see the head has just faded away to be a very thin sort of foamy there. There's a few kind of islands in the middle of the beer there, and then you've got that foamy ring just around the edge of the glass. But yeah, the way all of that goes together is pretty nice. And to be honest, from what you'd expect colour-wise from this beer, considering there's Baltic Porter in there as part of the blend, this looks pretty much what it looks pretty much as you'd expect is where I'm going with this. My brain isn't working, but yeah, you can see lovely sort of dark ebony rosewood colour. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or any adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But you don't often have to care about that with Baltic Porters, because you know the black beers, but with barley wines it can actually have an effect. But yeah, not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. I can see some bubbles just gathering up on this side of the glass, but all in all it looks pretty nice, and you know, pretty much as you would expect of an American strong ale. We have to call it an American strong ale because it is a blend of styles, but it should be really interesting. These guys really know what they're doing with the big malty side of things. So yeah, nothing else we really need to say about the appearance of this one. Let's have a look at the aroma and just see what we get out of this beer. I'm very, very curious about this. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pretty awesome, I'm going to say. This is just like an extremely rich beast of a beer. You've got a whole host of things going on in this one. You've just got this lovely blend of like Imperial Stout and barley wine in this one almost. It's like a mix of everything you love about the Imperial Stout and everything you love about the barley wine. The Baltic Porter, of course, flavour profile wise and aroma profile wise, the styles are quite similar. I know they're technically different because of the yeast and the fermentation temperature and all this, but yeah, this beer has everything you like about a big Imperial Stout and a big barley wine, is probably a simple way to put it. I could sit and smell this all day. You've got that lovely red fruitiness in there, you've got a big brown sugary component, you've got a big malty backbone in there, and just a little touch of hoppiness, and of course the barrel really kind of stands out in this one as well. The blend is great. I wonder if the barley wine's the one that's been aged in the cognac barrels, and then the Baltic Porter is the one that's been aged in the bourbon barrels. That would make the most sense, to be quite honest with you. But you can smell a lot of really interesting stuff with this one. So yeah, the backbone of the beer, you've got this lovely, very smooth American oaky character coming out of this beer. So yeah, lovely big smooth American oak in there. You've got a good little bit of vanilla character coming out of it, and yeah, lovely big vanilla notes, smooth American oak, I would say. Although the cognac probably is going to have European oak as well. So remember that oak trees, the American oak and the European oak, are different species. For me, the American oak is a little bit smoother and shows you a wee bit more of a kind of sweet vanilla, whereas the European oak is just that little touch drier and shows you maybe a kind of brighter vanilla. So you're getting a wee bit of a mix in the barrel character with this one. So good little bit of vanilla in the base, that's for sure. You can certainly pick that up, and you can smell the sweet brown sugary bourbon in there, but at the same time you've also got the kind of fruitier aspects of the cognac spirit as well. The barrel side of this beer really is lovely, I have to say that. It is pretty damn awesome. So when it comes to Baltic Porters, you know, you can play with with that style in the same way you can play with the Imperial Stout. You know, you can do double mash and things like that to make them feel a little bit more sticky, but you know, the whole point of a porter in comparison to the Stout is that it's lighter in the mouthfeel and it's more drinkable. The barley wine, usually the way you play with this style is that you give it a longer wort boil, and that gives you more kind of leathery brown sugars and a more sort of chewy flavour and things like that. I get the feeling that maybe that has gone on with this one just because of the way the brown sugars come out. But let's just break down the beer part of the aroma now that we've kind of covered the barrel. But yeah, the bourbon is quite a sweet, bright bourbon, I would say, and the cognac has a lot of lovely, like, datey, figgy sort of notes to it. Really is interesting, this one. But yeah, the backbone of the beer for me, you do get a little bit of that roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust that you'd expect of the Baltic Porter. That's absolutely in here. You do get a little hint of like a sweet rye bready character as well, which can come both from your Baltic Porter and from your barley wine side of things. So yeah, rich, oily, rye bready characters in there. Certainly some more wholemeal brown bread as well. There's a wee bit of chocolate coming out of this one. Like, you do get a little bit of that kind of dry or cocoa powdery type note. So yeah, dry or cocoa powdery type character coming out of this one. And yeah, dry or cocoa nibby character out of this one. But yeah, you also have a good little bit of kind of straight up chocolate in this, you know, a sort of 60-70% cocoa chocolate, which I do really quite like as well. There's a wee bit of milkier chocolate in there as well, which I think is kind of amplified by the vanilla notes that you get out of the wood. But yeah, a nice kind of dry, smooth, chocolatey character. Then you've got all the brown sugars in this one as well. So yeah, the brown sugary notes in this beer are lovely. You've got that big kind of sweet treacle molasses note in the middle of the nose. You've also got that so yeah, you've got treacle molasses in there, you've got sweet caramel, and then you've also got that more leathery brown sugary note in this one, and a wee bit of a toasty character as well. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this particular beer. So yeah, aroma wise, I think this is pretty interesting. But yeah, I really do like how all of that just pieces together in this one. This is great. So yeah, treacle molasses, bit of toasty caramel in there. Yeah, more leathery brown sugars as well. The aroma that you get out of this is great. You maybe get a little touch of nuttiness and woodiness and things into the aroma as well. But really interesting smelling beer. On the on the hoppy side of things, now this beer is a blend of barrel aged beers basically, so a lot of the hoppy character will have dropped out of both of them, but I still think you get pardon me, a little bit of green component in this one. There's a little touch of earthiness for sure. Yeah, a wee bit of earthiness in there, a little touch of herbal character, and I'm getting in the remnants of some kind of floral aromatic side of things, and also some nice kind of grassy character as well. So yeah, the way everything pieces together in this beer is really, really nice. Now on the fruity side of things, it's pretty impressive as well. Like, there's a lot of like very sharp raisin for me. I want to say cherries with this one as well. I'm getting a lot of that sharp, very, very rich kind of cherry character out of it, but certainly big juicy plums. Underneath that there's a little bit of like a drier prune and kind of datey character as well. Sultanas for sure. Big oily figs, black currants, and a wee bit of blackberry as well. So yeah, the way everything pieces together in this beer, I think is really, really nice. I think this is going to be an absolute monster, to be honest with you. But I will say, with this beer being a couple of years old, you certainly get, one of the things you'll notice with barrel aged beers, if you let them sit in the bottle for a bit, you get this big kind of silky kind of note out of them, and I'm curious to see how much of that we're going to get in this particular beer. But as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think this could turn out to be very, very interesting. So yeah, this one is the Laudatur, hopefully pronouncing that right, probably not. 2019 edition, a 10.4% Imperial or American strong ale, a blend of Imperial Baltic porter, and barley wine with cognac and bourbon barrel aging involved. So yeah, let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers, tervisex, keepis. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's really interesting because when you take it in, barley wine, when the aftertaste comes out, Baltic porter. It's lovely though. Very unique beer, and that's what you want after 4,000 odd beer reviews. You want things that are going to test your palate a little bit, and this beer certainly does that. So again, thumbs up to Sori Brewing. This is why I say they're one of the European breweries that you really need to check out. These guys are doing some awesome stuff actually. So I need to go and visit these guys at some stage, because when I did go to visit them, the brewery was actually closed, which was a bit unfortunate. So yeah, but yeah, let's have a wee look at the this beer. And you know, as I say, I think I've given you a very kind of very quick summary of what this beer is all about there, but let's try and break this one down and describe the flavour for you a little bit more in depth, as we always do. But yeah, barley wine in the beginning and then Baltic porter into the aftertaste is pretty much what's going on with this one. So yeah, let's take the beer from the aftertaste and kind of work back. I think that's the easiest way to go. So if you go to that middle third of your palate, then the backbone of the beer is that lovely, very smooth, oaky character in there, and you can feel that it's quite a bright oak almost in a sense, because you do have that mix of the smoother American oak and the slightly drier European oak. So you can feel a blend of things going on there. But as you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you certainly get a little touch of vanilla coming out of this one, definitely. But then above all of that, you start to get the spirity notes, and I think the bourbon is the one that feels like it's sitting in the base. So you can feel that lovely smooth kind of American bourbon brown sugar sitting in there, because you know, bourbon is this, it's quite a bright spirit, but it also has a little bit of bite to it in my experience. Not quite as smooth as Scotch whiskey, but yeah, you can feel the bourbon in the base there, but then I think the cognac sits on top of that and gives the whole spirity character just that little bit more oiliness, and it also gives you that fruitiness. So you're kind of getting, you know, cognac, if I remember right, is a wine distillate, so it's got a lot of fruity characters in there. So you're getting kind of grapey notes, but it really appears more like kind of datey and pruny and stuff. So you can feel that cognac-y character just sitting on top of the bourbon, in my mind. So I really do like how that pieces together. But yeah, the way that just everything goes together in this beer really is very nice. So above the barrel, and I think the barrel does start to push its way out. I think the more your palate adjusts to this one, you get more and more of the barrel kind of taking over the flavour of the beer, but it doesn't, you know, it's not overpowering in a sense. The flavour is just lovely. But yeah, on top of the spirit layer then, you can feel the roasty, toasty, well-fired bread crust of the Baltic porter, but it's not too harsh and it's not too aggressive. It is very smooth, and you know, you have to remember, when you barrel age beer, basically what you're doing is you are kind of infusing the beer with all these woody, spirity flavours. So that's why your roasty, toasty backbone from this beer isn't all that harsh. So yeah, I'd be curious to try some, like, you know, raw unbarrel aged beers from Sori in the future, just see what these guys are doing. But that's another thing. So you've got that roasty, well fired backbone. On top of that, you have some really nice on top of that, you've got some lovely like rye bready character there. So above the well-fired bread crust, you can feel the rye bready character. Then you get a little bit more of a kind of wholemeal brown bready character. I don't know if I would go as far as saying like there's a kind of chocolate spongy cakey kind of thing coming out of this one. And I think that again is the sort of key difference between the porter and the stout. If it was a blended stout, you'd probably get a lot of this like chocolate brownie, chocolate spongy sort of thing. The porter is a lighter beer in terms of its mouthfeel, and if I'm remembering the technicalities correctly, that's because it's a lower temperature fermentation. So yeah, so for me it's like rye bread, brown bread, and then you start to get a few other things above that. You start to get the barley wine characteristics coming out above this. So yeah, for me, pardon me, for me, the brown sugary notes that come out above that are absolutely lovely. Don't know, I must have taken some of that down the wrong way, otherwise I've got a dry throat. But yeah, above the kind of brown bready character, then you start to get the brown sugary notes, and for me, you can feel that leathery layer of brown sugar. So yeah, you've got this leathery brown sugary layer in there, and that indicates usually a longer wort boil with your barley wines. But hard to tell because of all the other infused flavours going on with this one. But then yeah, above that you get this more toasty brown sugar, and then you've got in the middle, dead centre of your palate, you've got this big treacly molasses sort of note, but in the dead centre of your tongue it's actually like quite a sweet caramel, and you've got some nice biscuity notes in there as well, and these are of course the elements of the barley wine. It'd be cool to try both of these beers separately prior to the blend, and you know, probably have been released as something else, but anyway, but you do get a little bit of nuttiness out of that middle third of your palate into the aftertaste as well. I think the one thing we've maybe not mentioned is the kind of chocolatey element to this beer. Like this beer, it does feel as if it's got a little bit of a kind of cocoa nib powder type thing going on in the middle third of the palate as well, but it's difficult to place in these layers where that would be. Maybe just above the kind of roasty, well-fired bread crust that we were talking about earlier, even though it's very, very smooth. But yeah, there is a wee bit of cocoa nibby character in there too. But with that, I think we've described everything that's going on in the middle third of your palate, which is where the vast majority of the complexity with this beer is. So let's move on to the back third of the palate then. So remember, with your palate, generally speaking, sweeter flavours come out further forward, but the further back you go on the palate, the more dry and bitter the flavours tend to be. And generally speaking, the back third of your palate is going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but just in different intensities. But yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of the brown bread underneath, you get the white bread above that, and then there's a wee bit of a there's maybe a little bit of a sweeter rye bread just above that actually, which is quite interesting. So yeah, the rye bread, the brown bread, and then yeah, just a little bit of a sweeter rye bread above that. But yeah, the base of that back third of your palate, you can feel that the barrel is in there. So you get that nice element of the barrel, but yeah, you get that nice element of the barrel in there. And it just feels that little bit drier, and you can feel the spirit feels a little bit kind of more dry as well. But then yeah, you've got the kind of toasty, well-fired bread crust, which actually shows you a little bit more of that black malty harshness in there. Yeah, rye bread, that layer feels a little bit lighter and more airy. The wholemeal brown bread, which feels a little bit lighter and more airy. And then above that, you can feel some of the kind of more cocoa nibby, almost like slightly charred chocolate characters just creeping over the top. And then yeah, you've got some of the drier brown sugars in there too. And then above all of that, it's the yeasty side of the beer that's coming out. So let's look at those yeasty characteristics. So the yeasty side of this beer is interesting as well, because in the dead centre of the yeasty side of things, it actually feels like it's almost like a kind of charred ball of bread crust. Then around that you have more of you've got a little bit more of a kind of sweet, like brandy soaked rye bread almost, and then you've got a wee bit of brown bread crust. So yeah, that yeasty character in this one's quite unique, and I think that just comes from the sheer blend of things that's going on in this one. So yeah, charred bread crust in the middle, rye bread, like brandy soaked rye bread in the edge, and then yeah, you've got that more kind of sweet brown bready character around the edge. But yeah, definitely the back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it kind of condenses down and just squashes together. So yeah, really interesting blend of flavours going on in this particular beer. So yeah, I think that covers the malty and yeasty side of things in this one for sure. Let's move on to the hoppy side of things then. So yeah, like I said, with this being a barrel aged beer, a lot of the hoppy character will have dropped out, but you still get the remnants of what's going on in this one. So definitely in the back corners of the palate there feels like there's a good little bit of earthiness there. That's most likely to come from the Baltic Porter. It's a little bit herbal as you come further forward, but as you reach the kind of front corners of your palate, you're getting the remnants of a more floral aromatic sort of thing. So this is the barley wine coming out there, because remember, barley wines are the big brothers of double IPAs, but round the front curve of the tongue it's a little bit lighter and more grassy for sure. But yeah, the green component is pretty smooth with this one. So yeah, the way all of that goes together, I think, is really quite nice. So yeah, it's interesting that I think the hoppiness just adds a wee bit more of a blend to it. It just gives a bit more depth of flavour. But let's look at the front third of your palate and the fruity side of things then. So yeah. Yeah, the fruity side of this beer for me, yeah, if we look at that front third of your palate then, so the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, yeah, you've got the rye bread in the base, the kind of wholemeal brown bread above that, and then yeah, you've got the woody side of things, the nice smooth oak at this point actually, you've got the spirit, a little bit of the kind of well-fired bread crust, the brown bread, the rye bread, and a wee bit of the kind of smoother brown sugar. Then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So let's look at that fruity estery point actually. So we take the beer in. Yeah, I would say that the fruits in the flavour are quite a bit more mellow than what you would get from the aroma. When you take it in, it's definitely, there is a wee bit of like raisin and plum in there, the juicier notes, but really, if you go to the back of that front third of your palate, that nice oily bubble, you get the raisin and plum when you first take the beer in, but really, it's like prune, dates, sultanas and things in the back of that front third of your palate, and then as you move further forward, you've got a nice kind of juicy, figgy note in there, and then into the front half of that front third of your tongue, it's more about like a black currant, and you maybe get a little touch of blackberry, but yeah, I'd say more black currant. So for the most part, prunes, dates, sultanas, figs, and black currants, I think, coming out of this one. I think that's probably a good summary of the fruity character in this beer. But this is really, really nice. As I say, this, if you come across a bottle of this, I don't know what it would cost you. I can't remember what I paid for this, to be quite honest, but pardon me, took a little bit of that down the wrong way. But yeah, this is definitely worth trying because it will test your palate and let you try, just let you see a different side of beer that you might not have seen before. But it's lovely, lovely stuff. Yeah, I think we can round off the review then with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer, for what it is, it's actually very easy to drink. It's very smooth. So a very smooth, kind of silky mouthfeel out of this one. It feels like it's bottom end of full bodied. The carbonation is, as I say, very, very smooth in this one. But yeah, lovely smooth carbonation. You have, lovely smooth carbonation in this one. And it's the IBU count in this one, it's actually a very, very smooth beer, this. Very silky as well, which you'd expect from the barrel side of things. But yeah, the IBU count in this beer, it's got a lovely kind of roasty toastiness to it from the Baltic Porter side of things. There is a wee bit of IBU in there, but it doesn't feel overly bitter. It must only be about like 40 IBUs at the absolute most. But underneath, you've got a lovely smooth barrel, you've got a very kind of sweet and oily spirit in there, you've got the bready characteristics, the roastiness, the smoothness, and then the sweetness on top from this blend of barley wine and Baltic Porter. A little touch of hoppy character, as we said, and you've got some lovely kind of juicy, oily fruits out of this beer that come out the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, I think the way Everything goes together in this one. It's really, really nice, and it gets a big, big thumbs up from me. So yeah, I really like how this beer pieces together. Actually, I think it's a really, really interesting one that's definitely worth trying. So yeah, Sori Brewing have pulled off something else that I find very, very interesting. So I think I need to do a mail order from these guys at some point and just see all the crazy things that they've got. But yeah, this has been lovely to try, and one of the more quirky beers that I've tried in recent times, or in quite a long time, I think we can say. So yeah, this was the Laudatur 2019 edition, a 10.4% American strong ale, basically a blend of Baltic porter and barley wine aged in American bourbon barrels and cognac barrels as well. Really good beer, and another solid showing from Sori Brewing, and we wouldn't expect any less, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Sori Brewing as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys in a very short time, because I love their stuff. I just wish it had been more easy to come across their things in Europe. But until the next time, check out my social media, check out Sori Brewing social media, and I'll see you guys again very, very shortly. Ciao just now.